Welcome back. We are talking about the emotional impact of evictions and how often it happens to people who struggle to find affordable housing.
So we continue the conversation with Raphael Ramos with Legal Action Wisconsin. So what's the first thing you tell people who are facing evictions?
Sure. Well, when people come into our eviction defense project, what we often see is that it's people who've run into issues with non-payment of rent. Oftentimes those issues stem from things like conditions where, for example, they don't have a working furnace, so they use their stove to heat their house. Nobody wants to pay for that. So what they do is they just don't pay the rent entirely. What people should know is that there are certain ways to handle those sorts of conditions issues so that you can reduce the amount you're paying legally, but not accidentally fall into a trap where you're suddenly in a position where you can be evicted.
So does the process begin when you're beginning to sign the lease versus at the end to sort of know what your rights are up front?
Yeah, I think, once well, that's one perfect example. Signing a lease is something that a lot of our clients don't have. A lot of our tenants that come in for assistance are month to month. They're just on verbal leases. So that obviously leaves a lot of questions in terms of what can be done for them and how things are handled in terms of the eviction being filed.
And what I found interesting about this book is that they talked about the history of it, that very few people in the past used to be evicted. And people were, shunning a lot of the landlords when they'd even do that. And now they're removing the door from these homes so then people can't live there anymore. So what is your advice for a mother who is dealing with it right now and is about to be evicted?
Yeah, so there are different kinds of evictions. So what you've described is a sort of self-help eviction. Yeah, right. Where landlords take matters into their own hands. That sort of thing is totally inappropriate. They can't do that. So if that sort of thing happens, you should call the police because that can't be happening to you. In order for an eviction to be valid, someone has to go to court and they have to get a writ of restitution from the court authorizing the eviction. And then the sheriff gets involved, either doing it themselves or observing as the landlord arranges for someone else to do the eviction.
How long could I live there?
After an eviction's been filed?
Right.
It kind of depends on the process. If an eviction's filed, so just generally in terms of taking you through the process, when someone's evicted, before they can actually file in court, the landlord has to give the tenant some sort of notice. Generally, that's often a 5-day notice where they say, you have 5 days to either make up the rent that's owed or you have to move out within that window. If you don't cure, after that point, the landlord can file the eviction in court. And once the eviction's filed, they get the summons and complaint in the mail, and they know about their court date. So once the court date comes, at that point, it's possible someone could be evicted right then and there.
So you're a lawyer, and you're with Legal Action.
Yes.
How many clients are you dealing with, and at what point do you get involved in the process?
Sure. Well, Legal Action of Wisconsin just launched a new eviction defense project in the Milwaukee County Courthouse. We're in room G9. We just launched that in January. So we have been helping most of our clients are tenants who are there for that initial appearance, that return date, that first court appearance. We're getting a lot of our clients within the courthouse who need assistance that day. So we're
strategic location there for you to be right in the courthouse.
Yeah, exactly. Right now we're on the ground floor of the courthouse, but we're hoping to move up right next to the small claims courtroom relatively soon.
So it's an emergency almost when they come to you.
Yeah, I mean, by the time people come to us, they have a court date that day, oftentimes. Some people come earlier, but oftentimes the people we're helping are in court and could be evicted as early as that afternoon.
So what's the client base, how many are you dealing with, and what's the success rate for you?
Yeah, so we're seeing on average between 6 to 10 clients per day. We're a volunteer-driven project, so the number of clients we can help is dependent on the number of volunteer attorneys we have. Our success rate has been very good. I mean, generally we're able to obtain a positive outcome in that we're able to help clients avoid the eviction. Whether that means avoiding the eviction and getting to stay in their home or working something out so that at least the eviction is dismissed so that it's not going to be that mark on their record.
And the one part of the book does highlight that not every landlord is a bad guy. Some of them buy groceries for these families or they let them stay an extra month, so that's good.
And the point you're making is help is available.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much for coming in and sharing your story and this important topic as well to talk about it.